Mr. Garcia, the ACLU is suing the current Sheriff's Department. It is currently conducting a review of the jail. They are requesting several modifications to the housing structure of the jail. How would you balance their request against fiscal issues due to shrinking budgets?
Well, listen, I was there for 30 years. I ran that jail with 2,100 inmates. I know how to run the jail. If they didn't let the jail get to that point, the ACLU would not be involved in a lawsuit. If they were taking care of the problems how they were supposed to be taken care of, they wouldn't be involved in that lawsuit. I will sit down with the ACLU. I will work in agreement with them. I know how to run the jail. I know what has to be done. They let that jail get to a point where the jail right now is the worst jail in the state, when it was the best jail in the state. That's what the ACLU is. Just because the ACLU, the lawsuit, that's why you, the residents of Passaic County, lost $20 million in revenue that was coming into this county. That's why your taxes were so
Time. Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
2,200. And it's my opinion that because it was 2,200, we're in the state that we're in right now with the ACLU. We are now negotiating for, I know the current population is about 1,100, and it's because of what was done by stacking prisoners at that time that we have to make the corrections now. And this is what we're going to deal with. We're dealing with problems from the past. We don't need someone that's been out of law enforcement for 10 years. We need a fresh new face in law enforcement, and I am the man for that job.
Thank you, Mr. Bernick. Mr. Garcia, I'm going to give you 30 seconds for response.
Mr. Bernick doesn't even know what he's talking about. You know, he gets this information from, I guess, the acting sheriff there now, and this information is wrong because he's the one that caused that jail to be in the condition it is in now. It was the best run jail when we were there, Mr. Bernick, and we have many, many more inmates than what we have now. With less staff. There's more staff.
Thank you. Seconds to respond, Mr. Bernick.
Yeah, it's clear that there were more employees when you were there than today. There's no question about that.
Oh, thank you.
And we could go on the record and we could look at that.
Yeah.
As far as the acting sheriff, I toured the jail, and I'm going to tell you something. The facility was clean. The men and women that are working there did their job. They were professional, and I'm going to tell you, to talk that the place is not clean, it is spotless. And I'm going to tell you, it's been well maintained, and I walked through it, and anybody that doesn't believe it, take a tour of the jail. We're talking about a facility that's 50 years old. Understand it.
ACLU don't think so.
Mr. Bernick, you don't have to tell me about that jail because I worked there for 30 years. You did. So I know what it's I've been there 30 years. I spent 30 years of my career there, my life. So don't tell me about that jail. You toured that jail and they took a week to clean that jail because you were coming through.
And I'll tell you one thing. When I'm sheriff, it'll remain that clean. The sad part is
I'm
that...
sorry, Mr. Garcia, when the crowd quiets down, then we should speak. Thank you.
I can speak over them. Don't worry about that. These are all sheriff's officers. These are men of the department, and they conduct themselves like that way. So the only thing is, Mr. Bernick.
Can you please be quiet? Thank you.
The sad part is, Mr. Bernick, that you're not going to be the sheriff. You have no experience in how to run in the jail. It cost the city of Clifton $1 million because of the mistakes you made when you were in Internal Affairs Division. So how can you run such a big department like the Passaic County Sheriff's Department?
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Mr. Bernick, I'm going to give you a minute to respond to that.
I'd like to respond to that, and again, unfortunately, it's underhanded politics, ladies and gentlemen.
It's the truth.
I was, and I'll set the record straight right now. I will set the record straight right now, ladies and gentlemen. I was the internal affairs investigator. I was not named as a defendant in that suit, and I was not responsible for that award. The jury made that award, and I was directed by the chief of police to be the internal affairs investigator. So I will make it very clear, I was never named, and as my opponent here will go back to, if he wants to sling mud, my house was never raided by the Attorney General.
Mr. Garcia? Quiet, please.
Mr. Bernick was in charge of the Internal Affairs Division. An officer came forward with information of wrongdoing, and he tried to cover it up.
That's a lie.
And it cost, I'm speaking, it's on the Howard News, and it cost the taxpayers $1 million. Speaking about the AG's office, Mr. Bernick, you'd like to see this letter where I was clear from the AG's office? If you want to say much, it's okay with me. I have the proof for it.
Yeah, it says the request for documents is terminated. Is there a
The
statement?
whole case was terminated, Mr. Byrne.
Where did it say the whole case was terminated?
Read the letter.
I'm reading it. Let me just respond to
Time, hold on.
I'd like to respond to that
Mr.
improper allegation.
1 minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was an allegation, and I'm going to tell you, anybody can say anything they want. I go back to the facts, and the facts are the truth. I was not named as a defendant in that case. It's very clear. An officer brought information to my attention. He was directed to go to the prosecutor's office, the head law enforcement agency of this county. He was directed by me to do so. My integrity, my honor is unblemished. I open my record to the public. I asked Mr. Garcia to open up, to be transparent, open up his lawsuit that he won the taxpayers' money, open that up to the public, and let's see what's in there. Let's open up those records. Will you do that, Mr. Garcia? Will you open up that lawsuit and let the people see what's in there?
Mr. Byrne, you know what?
Thank you. Mr. Garcia, hold please.
Mr.
I'll
Byrne,
give you 1 minute.
just like you said, it was allegations with your investigation, right? These was also allegations with my investigation. And the investigation, it says right here, the investigation was terminated, okay? I won this document. I sued the sheriff department for wrongful termination, and I won $150,000 because they violated my rights. Because to see your question, $1 million because of your actions that you took.
That's not true. And will you open up the details of that case to the public? Will you open that up to the public, the
That case is
taxpayer?
closed. That case is closed, and I won, Mr. Burnett.
Thank you very much.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you. I will ask you this question, and I'll ask Mr. Bernick to respond. Mr. Garcia, how does your, Mr. Bernick mentioned your lawsuit, how does your lawsuit, your legal case compare to Mr. Bernick?
My legal case was brought for termination by the previous administration under the Democratic control. I was, allegations were made, I sued them, wrote for termination, I won. The county paid $150,000, and the case is closed, that's it.
And Mr. Bernick, how does that compare?
Mr. Bernick case, a sworn officer brought in information to Mr. Bernick, who was the Internal Affairs Division at that time. A crime was committed, and he tried to sweep it under the rugs. They harassed that officer to the point that he had to file a lawsuit, and it cost the taxpayers $1 million.
I'd like to respond to that.
Mr. Garcia, are you accusing Mr. Bernick of a cover-up?
Yes, I am.
Mr. Bernick?
I'd like to respond to that. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I'll make the record clear. My record is unblemished. That officer did not bring up that 9/11 allegation until after he was charged. He was the subject of an internal affairs investigation. 3 years later.
Why did he win $1
okay?
million then?
Well, let me just tell you, again, the situation here is this. I was not named in that, okay? That lawsuit with the city of Clifton was responsible. I was not named as a defendant, and it's open to anyone in this room to go out and look. It's political wrangling, and it's not true. That lawsuit was not a result of Rich Bernick's work.
Thank you, Mr. Bernick. I'm going to follow up. The news media said that you were involved. It was, I think, at the Herald News.
How it was, right?
Were they incorrect?
The Herald News, again, only reported an allegation in transcripts, okay? So that's an allegation that those things were said. I vehemently deny what that was said in those transcripts. I never, ever, and I'm on the record, like I said, I told that officer deliberately, as by law, go right to the prosecutor's office. If he had an allegation, he should report it. He chose not to do so for 3 years. And then, when he's the subject of an internal affairs investigation, which one officer pled guilty to, and he was on the hook, his attorney says, if you don't drop the internal affairs investigation, I'll blow the doors off of City Hall with this allegation.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. I'm sorry, Mr. Whitman. So you're denying that the Herald News article is correct? You're saying
come
they're
on,
right.
Serrano.
You're getting into an area here. What I'm saying is,
Why don't you be fair and ask the
what I'm
question?
saying is,
You're playing games
what I'm saying is the Herald
You're
News.
playing games.
You want him to
What do you
finish?
think you're doing?
Do you want him to
This is
finish?
a debate?
Do you want
That's
him
a
to finish?
debate? That's a debate,
Do you want
huh?
him to finish?
Shame on you,
Thank you.
Serrano.
Finish,
Shame
Mr.
on
Whitman.
you.
Again, the Herald News reported what was documented by the other party. And again, you can say anything you want, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody in this room has been the victim of false accusations, I'm sure. What I'm telling you is, Rich Bernick told that officer, first of all, let me just back that up. That officer was not even there on the day that I responded on September 11th. So let's clarify that. That officer was not there the day that I was there. And by the way, I'd like to know where Mr. Garcia was on September 11th at that time. But
Thank you, Mr. Bernick. Thank you very much. Thank you for clearing that up. Mr. Garcia, 30 seconds to respond.
I will tell you when I was in 9/11, I was in the Passaic County Jail assigning officers, professional officers, that was not stealing from the victims of 9/11 to 9/11.
that's not true. That is not true. And that's disrespectful, I'll tell you that.
You can call it whatever you want to call it, Mr. Berman. That officer came to you, and you told that officer, shut up before we went up in front of
That
the
is a
jury.
lie. A lie.
It was reported in the Herald